I'm joining you from the heart of Vancouver on the unceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh Nations. As your incoming chair, I want to acknowledge the incredible work that you as business leaders have accomplished over the last year to reposition your members from survival to growth. Through your dedicated advocacy, you've shown resilience and unwavering leadership during a time of great change. Outside of my work with the BC Chamber of Commerce, my role at the Vancouver Fraser Port Authority is to support the delivery of essential trade-enabling infrastructure projects. With over 40% of Canada's international trade coming through the Port of Vancouver, the port plays a significant role in facilitating BC's economic growth, particularly as we chart the path to recovery. These projects that my team supports ensure the Greater Vancouver Gateway has the capacity to handle the growth in trade for all of BC and Canada. This in turn ensures your local businesses and consumers within your network can move their products efficiently right across the country and access the global marketplace. As business leaders in your community, we were quick to recognize at the onset of the pandemic that support in recovery is different than in crisis. Despite this nuance, the urgency of our advocacy continued over the last 15 months. Through our Pulse Check Mind Reader surveys, championing your interests at the Premier's Economic Recovery Task Force, and our three-part plan for economic recovery, we continue to push to get clarity and certainty that our post-pandemic economy is one that is stronger than before. Despite the ongoing challenges presented by the pandemic, trade is growing, and for small and medium-sized businesses from across the province, that signals opportunity. We know that now because the lessons that last year has taught us. For some, it was a year of oscillating between dread, anxiety, and loss. For others, it was in time to embrace the upset, a time to change. But for all of us, it heightened our collective risk tolerance and shifted our priorities in a way that was simply unthinkable 15 months ago, on a personal, a business, and a community level. We have conquered the feelings of uncertainty and trepidation by sharpening our focus on the connections that we share, our sense of community, and our duty to look out for each other, to be inclusive, and to stand up for what's right. We have a profound opportunity through our policy process and our network to do what's right, and to address systemic barriers that exist within our business community, and to promote equality and equity. For our board serving the provincial network, doing what's right, particularly during a pandemic, meant taking time to reflect on our own practices and to better understand what inclusion, diversity, and equity means for our organization. This commitment emerged from the board's Inclusion and Diversity Task Force, a group that is set out to engage the network to build a framework for a future state. We first looked throughout the network to the many chambers that have quietly and courageously taken the steps to foster a culture of inclusion within their network. In doing so, these chambers have reached businesses on the periphery and strengthened their own understanding of the challenges and opportunities facing their community. As a result, these local chambers have encouraged more diversity in their membership, on their boards, and through our policy process, while working to address barriers to meaningful decision-making. I commend the Prince Rupert Chamber of Commerce for bringing forward the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People policy in 2018, and the Surrey Board of Trade for bringing forward the policy resolution last year to improve economic and labour market performance for women and minorities. At the BC Chamber Board table, we proudly committed to the 50-30 challenge to purposely build in diversity into our leadership, our procurement practices, and hiring. We have made great strides to achieve gender parity on our board and operational leadership, but we have more work to do to achieve significant representation of other underrepresented groups, including Indigenous and people of color, people living with disabilities, and members of the LGBTQ2+ community. This commitment and the ongoing engagement through the Inclusion and Diversity Task Force is an example of how we can harness the power of our network through collaboration and insight to do what's right. This progress reinforces what we all know to be true. Diversity of perspective leads to stronger and more robust decision-making. Because when we value and give space for the perspectives and experiences that make us different, rather than those that we share, we see new ideas, fresher thinking, and a better understanding of the barriers that are invisible to some. Looking forward to the year ahead and beyond, this is critically important, especially as we tackle challenges like the recovering job market. Despite modest improvements from job losses, we're seeing emerging trends that will worsen our labor shortage. A recent Microsoft survey, for example, found that more than 40% of workers globally were considering leaving their jobs this year. Disillusioned by the COVID grind and burned out, many millennials are stepping back and looking for change. Each of us has a friend, a colleague, or a family member that has embraced the freedom that this pandemic has awarded us to relocate. Others had no choice but to pick up and move on. As a result, our communities are changing, and with the distance between our communities only a Zoom call away, in many ways our province is getting smaller. When our connectivity is no longer measured by our physical distance, we must leverage the power of our voices as a whole. This includes those groups outside of our network that have economic influence and leadership that we can learn from. This is important because the way that we do business tomorrow is fundamentally different than today. We must seek alternate partnerships. We must engage differently and be open to new ideas and new ways of doing things. We must continue to compete, innovate, and collaborate to respond to these changes and future challenges. Encouraging inclusion and diversity of thought is one of my core values. Not only is it the right thing to do, but it's a prerequisite for tomorrow's thriving economy. As a powerful network of boards of trades and chambers of commerce, we have the ability to step outside of our comfort zone and be leaders in this area. Bringing in previously excluded voices to our network makes our policy resolutions that much more effective, and our collective voice to government that much louder. I am appreciative of the incredible collaboration and resilience that this network has shown. We have a tremendous opportunity ahead of us to engage our new partners, our national chamber network, and government to help deliver new ideas for the future benefit of all British Columbians. Thank you.